Thank you, Chairwoman. My name is Carrie Young. I thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight on these bills. Does this sound right? Okay, yeah. Sorry. I am strongly opposed to both Senate Bill 660 and also Senate Bill 274. I am going to focus tonight primarily on 274. First, this bill is in effect not about codifying Roe v. Wade in Rhode Island. It's a Trojan horse to go much further and to greatly expand abortion in Rhode Island, even to the point of allowing partial birth abortion. And in addition to that, it would allow the abortionist to be the sole person who would be able to say whether or not the baby was viable or not. So the very person who stands to make hundreds and hundreds of dollars from performing abortion, they get to be the one to decide if that baby is viable, quote, viable. If this bill was just about fear over Trump being elected, then why does the bill seek to expand abortion? I feel that Trump's pregnancy is just a convenient Trojan horse. Now, what is the word choice? It sounds benign and cheery and even American. It applies to a lot of things. You can choose to order vanilla or chocolate ice cream, or paper or plastic bags at the supermarket checkout, or decide where you're going to go on vacation. You have that choice, and on and on. But when you're talking about taking the life of another human being, the word choice is just not appropriate. The phrase pro-choice is actually a brilliant, deceptive marketing term that was designed to essentially brainwash the public into thinking that the ripping off of the arms and legs of an innocent unborn baby, not a clump of cells, an innocent unborn baby, and crushing their skulls or injecting them with saline solutions so that they swallow that and burn to death from the inside, a painful death, is something good. Oh, because it's about choice, and choice is good. We are all, by the way, a clump of cells. We just have more cells now than we did in the beginning. But from the moment of fertilization on, nothing new is added to us except oxygen, nutrition, and time. We have all of our DNA, our hair color, our eye color, how tall we're going to be, everything. In fact, what I just described is as barbaric as it is. It happens every day at Planned Parenthoods across the nation, and there have been, in response to this, in part, 16 states have passed pain-capable unborn child protection laws in 16 states, and that's banning abortions after 20 weeks. But many experts have shown that babies feel pain as early as 7 weeks. Their nervous systems are already developed. The other, Tyler Rowley was describing what goes on in Planned Parenthood, and that's very important for people to see, because that's the reality of what we're talking about here today. These women, and I sympathize with many of them with their poignant stories, and the problem is that is not addressing what abortion is. Abortion is killing a human being. And the way that, many of these videos have come out, the other side, Planned Parenthood, desperately tries, these videos are nothing. They're right on tape. You can watch the abortionist joking, like the new one, which was taken off of YouTube. Several attendees made jokes about eyeballs from aborted babies and other aborted baby parts rolling down into their laps. The top ACLU attorneys saying things like, I don't even want to say this, but I get it. When the skull is broken, that's really sharp. Or Anne Ain, a Planned Parenthood abortionist, describing abortions. If I'm doing a procedure and I'm seeing that I'm in fear it's about to come to the umbilicus, the belly button, I might ask for a set of forceps to hold the body at the cervix and pull off a leg or two so that it's not PBA, partial birth abortion. So in other words, so that she could get away with it, so it's still legal. Or Deborah Nucatola, the Senior Director of Medical Services for Planned Parenthood, saying, sometimes she'll tell me she wants a brain and we'll, leave the calivarium, that's the head, in until last, and then try to basically take it, or actually, catch everything and keep it separate from the rest of the tissue so it doesn't get lost. This is what goes on at Planned Parenthood. It's not like just a cheery women's health place. What if we use the term choice to describe other immoral actions? Should a gang member who shoots and kills another rival gang member on the street be able to simply call that their choice? No, the government makes laws all the time that stop people from hurting other people. everything is a law. Every law is saying that. A woman who testified earlier in favor of abortion said that she has, quote, no right to choose for another individual. Exactly. Who are we to choose who lives and dies? These babies won't die, but these babies we can kill because they're not wanted, because they have a disability, maybe Down syndrome or some other challenge, or because the mother didn't intend to become pregnant, or maybe it will make her life a little harder, or she doesn't feel ready. Or even mothers who are in very difficult situations or feel forced by their boyfriend or husband to have an abortion. Still, it is never okay to kill an innocent human baby. I mean, the way to really to drive that home for yourself is to say, finish the sentence. There's a great movie called 180 that goes over this. Okay, so you're in favor of abortion. Okay, finish the sentence for me. It's okay to kill that baby because, or it's okay to kill a baby in this circumstance because that's the truth. If you have an abortion, you're killing. The baby is alive before the abortion. The baby is dead, bloody, and lying in a steel bowl on the Planned Parenthood table afterwards. Is that benign? Is that cheery? Is that American? Now, as usual, I've heard a lot tonight about women dying in botched abortions, and we do not want anyone to die. We are pro-life. The answer, of course, is to not abort. I mean, I guess that should be the obvious conclusion for people. I want to read to you something because this is very enlightening. These are statistics and quotes from Bernard Nathanson. He was the co-founder of NARAL, originally called the National Abortion Rights Action League. He was the former director of New York City's Center for Reproductive and Sexual Health. It was the largest abortion clinic in the world. And in the 1970s, he turned against abortion to become a pro-life advocate, and he did the movie A Silent Scream, which you can see on YouTube. Here are his words. I, Bernard Nathanson, was personally responsible for 75,000 abortions. This legitimizes my credentials to speak to you with some authority on the issue. I was one of the founders of the National Association for the Repeal of the Abortion Laws in the U.S. in 1968. A truthful poll of opinion then would have found that most Americans were against permissive abortion. Yet within 5 years, we had convinced the Supreme Court to issue the decision with legalized abortion throughout America in 1973 and produced virtual abortion on demand up to birth. How did we do this? It is important to understand the tactics involved because these tactics have been used throughout the Western world with one permutation or another in order to change abortion law. Here he describes how they just flat out lied with their statistics in order to get Roe v. Wade passed. We persuaded the media that the cause of permissive abortion was a liberal, enlightened, sophisticated one. Knowing that if a true poll were taken, we would be soundly defeated, we simply fabricated the results of fictional polls. We announced to the media that we had taken polls and that 60% of Americans were in favor of permissive abortion. This is the tactic of the self-fulfilling lie. Few people care to be in the minority. Oh, those people are all against it. Well, I guess I better, are for it. Well, I should be for it. We aroused enough sympathy to sell our program of permissive abortion by fabricating the number of illegal abortions done annually in the U.S. The actual figure was approaching 100,000. That's just illegal abortions. But the figure we gave to the media repeatedly was 1 million. Repeating the big lie often enough convinces the public. Now, this is like Mr. Abortion saying this, okay? This is the guy that got basically Roe v. Wade passed. He along with, Sarah Weddington and Jane Roe, Norma McCorvey, who was just innocently bred into it, basically. But this guy knows what he's talking about. He's exposing the real truth. The number of women dying from illegal abortions was around 200 to 250 annually. The figure constantly fed to the media was 10,000. Not 200. Let's just say it's 10,000. The figure constantly fed, the false figures took root in the consciousness of Americans, convincing many that we needed to crack the abortion law. Another myth we fed to the public through the media was that legalizing abortion would only mean that abortions taking place legally would then be done legally. In fact, of course, abortion is now being used as a primary method of birth control in the U.S., and the annual number of abortions has increased by 1,500% since legalization. So there are 1,500%, and this was a while ago that he said this. He died around 5 years ago. It's probably more like 2,000% now. he says a lot more about how they tried to make it seem like all Catholics were for abortion when it was just the hierarchy. They just completely lied to get these things passed, and they lied about when life begins as well, but it's too long to read all of it. Yes, I am anti-abortion. Yes, I am anti-choice when that choice means the killing of a child. Yes, I defend those babies, but I am also pro-woman. Abortion is not health care. It not only kills the baby, but it also has many devastating effects on a woman's health. And that should be something that we as women care about. There's so many things to list, from risk of future premature birth, uterine laceration, hemorrhaging, depression, a much higher rate of suicide. But one of the biggest things, and I want to just focus on this for a bit, is the link between abortion and breast cancer. Now, there have been almost 70 epidemiological studies showing the link between abortion and breast cancer, and at least 34 of those studies show causation. And here's the reason. When you get pregnant, you have a mass proliferation of your breast cells. Now, those breast cells are initially type 1 and type 2 immature breast lobules, so they're cancer susceptible. But at about week 32 in your pregnancy, the baby, as a protective mechanism for the mother, secretes human placental lactogen, which develops those type 1 and type 2 cancer susceptible breast lobules into type 3 and type 4, which are cancer resistant. So when you kill the unborn baby, before you get that protective mechanism that you get after week 32, you're left with all of these new places for breast cancer to start. And this has been, I know when I brought this up in the March 29th hearing, and of course there had to be somebody who went after me who said, oh, no, those studies have all been disproven. There was something in 2003, 2004 that showed that, there's no link. Okay, well, yeah, in 2003 and 2004, there was a bogus study that came out. And that was disproved in 2009. So for anybody who doesn't do that, that's 6 years later. So it's a more recent study showing that there is a link. And this is from an NCI, National Cancer Institute researcher. I have copies of this actually for everybody. I'll give them out at the end. The U.S. National Cancer Institute researcher Louise Britton, who was the chief organizer of the National Cancer Institute, thank you so much, sorry, workshop in 2003 that persuaded women that it was well established that abortion is not associated with increased breast cancer risk, reversed her position in 2009 and now admits that abortion and oral contraceptives raise breast cancer risks by 40%. And I have the actual, because I have, there's a microbiologist who has all of the, the entire study, which is many, many, many pages long. But this is, if you want to hear technically what it says, this is just part of it. They also mentioned the 40%, is in an analysis of all 897 breast cancer cases, this is in the results section, subtypes combined, the multivariate adjusted odds ratios for examining risk were consistent with the effects observed in previous studies on younger women, table 1, specifically older age, family history of breast cancer, earlier menarche age, associated with an increased risk for breast cancer. So whenever they talk about they've been disproven, that's not true. This woman was the one who said that in 2003. Even she admits later that it causes that it gives you a higher risk of breast cancer. Somebody had just talked about ectopic pregnancy, and I just wanted to address that quickly. In an ectopic pregnancy, the baby is not supposed to be. They're in the fallopian tube where they're not supposed to be. So it's the legal and moral and licit action in that case is to simply remove the baby from where they're not supposed to be. And as a result of that, oftentimes the baby does die in that circumstance, but you are not directly targeting the baby. You are not intending to kill the baby. So another example would be if a woman has cancer and they have a tumor, say on their arm, and they get a targeted radiation to shrink that tumor, and as a result of that, some of the radiation got in their body and the baby were to die, that's not an abortion. That would be, they're not trying to kill the baby. They're just trying to target their cancer. In that circumstance, honestly, I wouldn't even get the radiation, but they would be able to do that morally to address their cancer, but they're not going in and killing the baby on purpose. Abortion is the direct and purposeful killing of a baby. I, in closing, basically wanted to address to people that I think there's a lot of passion on both sides on this issue, but I think a lot of it on the other side, in part, comes from this feeling that they've either maybe somebody's had an abortion, or they know someone who's had an abortion, or they've been involved. Maybe they've even committed been an abortionist. That doesn't mean that you have to be pro-abortion now. I mean, like, somebody could, I don't know, steal something when they're younger. That doesn't mean they have to be pro-theft their whole life. I mean, you can realize that something is an obvious human rights violation, that is something that's just wrong, and you can say, you know what, I'm not for that anymore. And it doesn't, I mean, those people, those are some of the greatest successes that I've seen are from somebody like Bernard Nathanson, who committed 75,000 abortions and then helped so many people by exposing the truth. Or Abby Johnson, who was won the Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year award when she was the director of the Planned Parenthood in Bryan, Texas. And then she exposed what was going on there, how Planned Parenthood said, you got to get your abortion numbers up, Abby. Your abortion numbers aren't up enough. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought this was about helping women. No, it's about profit. But just think about it. You know that this is about killing innocent children. God bless you. There's no way that it could be right. And a man earlier, he had a blue shirt. He had said that abortion is not mentioned in the Bible. Well, it is. I guess he missed it, but thou shalt not kill.